swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may have a seat right there.
Would you state your name for the record?
Nicole Cochran.
Ms. Cochran, you have to speak up.
Nicole Cochran.
Louder.
Nicole Cochran.
If you could, just scoot up a little bit closer to the mic, and that'll help.
Do you know Natalie Cochran?
Yes.
How do you
Yes.
know her?
She's my mother.
She's your mother. So you've known her all your life, right?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to invite your attention to, let's say year 2017, somewhere around that area. Who lived in your house at that time?
My mother, my father, myself, and my brother.
Okay. Who is your father?
Michael Cochran.
And I just want you to use the initials only. Who is your brother?
M.A.C.
Okay, amazing. How old is he?
He's 17.
So, about 5 or 6 years ago, he would have been what? 12, 13?
Yes.
What was your mother's job?
She was a pharmacist.
Okay. Where did she work?
She worked at Access Health.
Okay. Was there a time when she quit being a pharmacist?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember the year?
I believe somewhere between 2016 and 2017, I was in middle school.
Okay. What did your father do for a living?
He worked with technology.
What does that mean?
I'm not entirely sure.
You worked with computers?
Yes.
Okay. What was, what was the purpose of working with the computers? Do you know? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Did your mother and your father ever establish any business?
Yes.
What type of business or businesses did they have in 2016, 17, 18? Do you know?
Technology Management Solutions and Tactical Solutions Group.
Okay. The first business, what did it deal with? Do you know?
It was a form of federal contracts, I believe, that my father would do for technology purposes.
That your father would do, said?
Yes.
Okay. What type of contracts are we talking about?
I believe they were federal and state.
Okay. What were they doing in plain terms? Buying, selling, what were they doing?
To my knowledge, they were buying technology and reselling them, I believe. But
And
I'm
what?
not.
Speak up.
Sorry, I believe that they were buying technology and reselling them through bids for the government, but I'm not entirely sure on the specifics.
Okay. Did you ever witness your father prepare any contracts?
I never saw them, but I always saw him working on his computer, and he would say that that's what he was doing,
Say that he was doing what?
that he was filling out contracts.
Okay. Did your mother do that?
No.
Did your father ever talk to you about his job? or his work?
All he would say is that he was doing contracts with the government, but he would never go into too many specifics with me.
Okay. Did you have a nice lifestyle in 2016, 17, 18?
Yes.
Tell us about your lifestyle at that time.
I would say that we were pretty wealthy. In that time frame, my father had just gotten a new car,
Okay.
and we had some new boats.
Some what?
Some new boats,
Boats?
and there was talk about buying a hangar for a plane.
Whose plane was it?
It was Chris Davis's plane, but I believe my father eventually wanted to have his own.
Okay. How about motorcycles? Your father had some, didn't he?
He always had one motorcycle, but during that time we bought some new ATVs.
Okay, ATVs. How about that 65 Cobra that we heard so much about?
Yes, that was his new car.
That was his new car. How many houses did you guys have?
We had one that we resided in, and then my father had bought and renovated a house for Chris Davis's aunt, and then we were putting an offer in on a new house for ourselves in Flat Top.
Okay. Did your father also buy an office?
Yes.
Where was that?
It was in Beckley, close towards the park and the Armory, like down that way.
Was life good at that time? Money was pouring in?
Financially, yes.
Financially, yes. Did you guys take any exotic trips? No, exotic.
We went to Paris, and
Who is we?
my mother, my father, myself, and my brother, I got asked on a school trip, so
Okay.
they all came as well.
Okay. And whenever you talk about your brother, please use the initials, okay? All right. How long did you spend in Paris?
We were there for 2 weeks, I believe.
Did you spend a lot of money there?
Yes, my dad wanted to shop a lot.
Okay. What did he shop for?
He mostly wanted to go to luxury stores,
Such as
Louis Vuitton.
Louis Vuitton. Okay. And did you guys go to Hawaii too?
Yes, but that was when I was in 5th grade, so
Oh, okay.
it was years.
Who paid for that, by the way? I mean, who went to Hawaii?
My mother, my father, myself, and MAC.
Okay. And how long did you stay in Hawaii?
I believe it was a week.
Okay. All right. Did you, in about 2017, 18, 19, did you do some extraordinary things that involved a lot of money?
I would say the new purchases of the cars and the boats and things would be the main circumstances.
Okay. Where was the money coming from? Do you know?
My father always said that it was the contracts, so I just never assumed anything differently.
Okay. I want to ask you something about, well, did your father ever let you know what was happening on his computer, what he was doing? Was he ever telling you what he was working on other than the contracts?
No, he only ever referred to them as the federal and state contracts.
Okay. Was he secretive about it?
With me, yes, I would say.
Okay. I want to ask you about your father's health. Was there a time in 2000, well, from the, let's say 2015, 16, when you were in middle school, how was your father doing, health-wise?
He was very agitated and irritated mentally, and he was having a lot of headaches, I would say.
Was he always like that?
No.
No, I'm asking you right now about 2015, 16.
Oh.
Was he normal? Was he abnormal? What?
In that time, he was normal, I would say.
What did he do for fun?
He worked out a lot, and he would participate in, like, tough man competitions.
He won one, didn't he?
He got 6th place in one at the fair.
Oh. Did he pull a tractor one day or something like that?
He pulled a Hummer, like a military vehicle.
In a competition?
Yes.
Did he win?
No. That was the 6th place.
Oh, that was the 6th place. Did he ever want to be a bodybuilder? Or was he a bodybuilder?
I would say that he considered himself to be, but he never participated in competitions such as that.
Oh, he did. Okay. Did he work out a lot?
Yes.
Did he care about his outward appearance, the physique?
Yes, it mattered a lot to him.
How about the image? Did he care about that a lot?
I believe so.
How so?
He would never leave the house without being fully, like, perfect, I would say. And he wanted everyone to think that he was perfect in a sense and strong, I would say.
Okay. Are you familiar with his medication taking?
Yes.
What was he taking his medication for?
Most of what he took was for gaining muscle, like for working out, supplements and things.
Okay. What type of medication was he taking? Do you know?
I know that he took steroids, and he took many other supplements, but I don't know the names of the supplements.
Well, tell us how he did that daily. Did he do it daily?
Yes, every morning.
Every morning. How did he do that?
He would lay all of his pills out on the counter, and there would be so many of them that they would just sit in a whole circle, and it looked like the size of a dinner plate. And then he would scoop them handfuls at a time into his mouth and use the sink water to drain them down. And then he would take the steroids as well.
How many pills were there, just roughly?
Probably around 40 a day.
And you don't know what they were?
No, I remember a lot of them he got from G&C in the mall.
Okay. Where else did he get them from? Do you know?
He said that he ordered his steroids from Mexico, but I don't know the specifics on the other ones.
He never explained anything else about that Mexico?
No, at first he didn't really want my brother and I to know, but we eventually realized what they were, and he told us.
What were those pills?
They were vials of steroids that he would get from Mexico.
And what would he do with that?
He would take them through a dropper, usually, in the mornings.
Did he ever inject?
I'm not sure.
Okay. But you saw him use the medication orally and, well, he used the dropper, and what did he do with the dropper?
He would just put them in. He would put them in his mouth.
Okay. So that would be also oral.
Yes.
Oral. In about 2017, did you start noticing any changes in your father's health?
Yes.
What did you notice?
He was very agitated and angry, more so than not. And he was having a lot of headaches. And he would complain about them frequently. And he wasn't eating as much as he used to.
Did he have back surgery in 2017? Do you remember?
I'm not entirely sure when he had back surgery, but I remember him having it.
Okay. How long did he stay in the hospital for that? Or was it an outpatient?
For the back surgery, I'm not sure.
Okay. Did he like to go to hospitals?
No, he hated them.
What did he tell you about these hospitals?
He considered them to be a waste of his time and that he never wanted to be in one again.
Okay. Was there ever a time that he had to go to the hospital in 2018? If you recall?
Yes,
He went there for one day at the end of October 2018.
I believe so, yes.
Do you know what prompted his going to the place where he apparently hated, such as the hospitals?
The doctors, I believe, thought that he had a brain tumor.
Okay.
I'm not sure what led for him to be there, like the
Well,
symptoms.
what did he complain about the time when he first went to the hospital in October of 2018?
I believe it was the headaches
Headaches,
and some dizziness, maybe.
dizziness. Did he ever lose consciousness?
Not in my presence that I'm aware of.
Do you know of him losing consciousness?
I believe it did happen. He got very dizzy and then just got really out of it.
Okay. He came back later that day or the next day, but then he had to go to the hospital on November the 2nd, right?
Yes,
What was wrong with him then?
I believe it was the same thing.
He stayed 5 days in the hospital?
I believe so, yes.
Did you visit him in the hospital?
Yes.
Obviously. What did you observe when you were in the hospital?
He seemed kind of out of it, but he was actually really nice. He said some kind things to my brother and I, because he didn't think he would get another chance to.
Is that what he told you?
He told me that he always appreciated my intelligence and that he never told me that, but he wanted me to know it now just in case he never got to say it again.
Did you take it as a farewell to life for him?
I've always considered that to be kind of like my goodbye.
Okay. But he pulled through and he came home, right?
Yes.
And how did he act and behave after he came back to came back home?
He acted like it never took place, but he was still very angry all the time, and he was still having the same symptoms as before.
Headaches,
Yes, and the dizziness.
dizziness. Did it ever go away?
Not to my knowledge.
In January of 2019, shortly before his death, how did he behave?
He was kind of acting crazy.
All right.
He was very upset and angry all the time.
Okay. Was he forgetful?
Yes.
What would he forget?
Just little things throughout the day, like what he was doing or things like that, the date.
Did he appear to be in any discomfort?
He complained about the headaches a lot, and I believe the irritability was a symptom of his discomfort.
Okay. Did he ever go to sleep and stayed asleep for a long period of time?
He was always asleep before I left for school, and he would sleep in usually.
Okay. Approaching February of 2019, did his condition improve or did it get worse? Or did it stay the same?
I would say as time went by, it continued to worsen.
Tell us how, from your own observations.
As I've mentioned, just how agitated and irritable and the headaches, they just continued to increase more and more, it seemed like.
Did anybody in your family suggest that he go back to the hospital or a doctor or seek medical help or advice?
Many around him were concerned for him.
And was there a suggestion that he go to the hospital?
I'm not sure, but I remember several people wanted him to stop taking his steroids.
Oh, was he taking steroids at that time?
Yes.
Still a plate full of steroids?
A plate full of the medications and then the vials of the steroids.
Okay. And he was still receiving some of those steroids from Mexico, I take it?
Yes.
And he was taking those vials with the pills?
Yes.
And he still worked out?
Yes, pretty frequently.
Could he work out with all those headaches? And
I believe that he still went to the gym, but I don't know the intensity of the workouts as compared to before.
okay. Was there a time in February, right before February the 6th, that you believe that he felt the worst?
Yes.
What was the, was there any new condition or all the conditions that he had so far worsened? What was happening?
They were worsening, and his appetite was continuing to decrease.
So he wouldn't eat?
He would not eat as much as he used to.
Okay. And yet he took the steroids and whatever substances he was using?
Yes.
Anabolics? Was he ever using anabolics? Do you know?
I'm not really sure what anabolics are.
Okay. Do you know any names of the substances that he was using?
No, but I know what they look like.
Okay. Where did he keep those substances?
Above the place on the counter where he would take his medicine, we had 2 cabinets. We had one that was for all of our prescription meds for the family, and his were in there. And then he had a larger cabinet filled with protein powders, supplements, and the boxes of the steroids.
He had his own cabinet?
Yes.
Did anybody have access to that cabinet?
Yes, we could open it, but we knew not to take any of his things.
You couldn't touch any of his things, right?
Yes, unless he told us we could, like for protein powder or something.
Okay. The day before your father collapsed, how did he feel? Do you recall that day?
He was still feeling all the symptoms, the irritability, the headaches, the dizziness, the lack of appetite. But at that point, it just kind of seemed like a normal thing because he had been feeling them for so long.
Was he forgetful more than usual?
Yes, I would say that continued to happen.
What did he forget things? What did he forget?
He
To
would
do things? To what?
Yes, to do things, and he would forget about saying certain things, or I'm trying to remember specifics. Sorry.
Okay.
um,
The day before your father collapsed was also the day when your mother went to a doctor, right?
yes,
What was wrong with your mother?
I believe she was sick.
What was she sick with? Do you know?
I think that she was throwing up, if I remember correctly.
That she was doing what? Speak
Sorry.
up.
I think that she was throwing up, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure.
She wasn't exactly a model of health either, was she?
No,
What was wrong with her?
she had been in cancer. She had cancer.
Well, did she have any problems with her heart?
Yes,
Was she on some type of device that is attached to her
yes,
to monitor her heart rate and all of that?
yes,
She is still on it until today, isn't she?
yes,
All right. Well, when she had those heart problems, she went to all kinds of doctors, right?
yes,
And there was a suggestion that she may be afflicted with cancer at one point, right?
yes.
Do you know whether she went to Cleveland Clinic for that?
Yes, I believe that was the name of it.
Did they reject her for lack of insurance? Do you know?
I wasn't aware.
Okay. Do you know whether she went to Duke?
Yes,
Okay. And she was seeking cancer treatment from Duke? Is that what?
yes, they believe she had some type of blood cancer, I think.
Okay. Were you concerned about it?
Yes,
No, of course you were concerned about it. Well, the day before your father collapsed, she went to a doctor, and what did the doctor do with her? Did he give her any medication? What do you know about that?
I'm not sure.
Okay. How was your mother acting the day before your father collapsed? How sick was she, to your knowledge?
I believe she was pretty sick.
Okay. You said she was throwing up?
Yes,
Did she have a fever?
I'm not sure
Did
about.
she stay in bed?
Yes, that wasn't uncommon though with the cancer for her.
All right. She was supposed to fly to Virginia the next day, right? Did you know anything about that?
I can't recall.
Okay. How did she feel the next day when you woke up? How did your mother feel the next day?
I believe she was still pretty sick.
Okay. All right. When you came and you went to school that day, right?
Yes,
And your brother also went to school, right?
yes.
When you came home, who was at your residence?
My mother and the Hamiltons.
Okay. Anybody else that you recall?
I believe it was just them when I came home, but I'm
Okay.
not entirely sure.
Did anybody else show up later?
Yes.
Who was that?
Mr. Treadway, Chris Davis came, and then my Aunt Penny, I believe.
Okay, all right. And at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the decision was made to do what with your father? Well, let me strike that. Your father was asleep?
Yes.
Did he snore?
Yes.
Okay. That was similar to the first time when he went to the hospital in November, right?
I believe so.
But in November he woke up, right?
Yes.
Okay. So now he's asleep, he's on the couch, right?
Yes.
About 4 o'clock in the afternoon, well, what time did you get home, by the way?
We rode the bus, so it was probably around 2:45 and 3.
Okay. And around 4 o'clock, it was decided he was going to the hospital.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Was your father a happy man?
No.
When was the happiest that you ever saw him?
When we had money. When he believed he was going to get paid, I would say.
What was Natalie's reaction after Michael passed away?
She was very distraught.
Would it be a fair statement that Natalie loved Michael with all her heart?
Yes.
Right? That's all the questions I have of this witness.
Cross-examination?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Cochran, you've had a very tough last few years. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
When you went from trips to Paris, trips to Hawaii, to having to move out of your house, that has been very hard on you, hasn't it?
Yes.
In 2019, in February 2019, what grade were you in?
8th grade.
8th grade. Okay, and you were how old?
12 or 13.
Okay. Did you always take the bus, or did one of your parents or somebody else take you to school?
Usually my mother would take me to school.
Okay. And then you and your brother would ride the bus home?
It just depended on the day.
So sometimes she would come and pick you up?
Yes.
Is there anybody else that transported you?
Sometimes my babysitters would pick us up from school.
Okay. And what school did your brother go to at that time?
I believe we both went to Shady Middle.
Okay. Scribe, have you met with this gentleman right here, Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Did he interview you? Did he take, what are you going to say? Did he ask you that?
He asked me about questions during that time.
Okay. Did he record anything from you or write anything down? Information you gave him?
not sure.
Okay. Your Honor, under Rule 612, if the defense has a statement of this witness, we'd like it, please.
All right. Is there a statement, Mr. Victor? Would you confer with your investigator?
No, Your Honor. The only time my investigator talked to this witness was in our office.
Does he have any notes from that? Okay. You're in middle school, and you don't really know what your dad does for a living, but he told you he does something with contracts. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And your mom had left her job as a pharmacist how long before your dad started these contracts?
It was after.
Do you know when your mom stopped working as a pharmacist?
I want to say I was in 7th grade, but I'm not entirely sure.
Fair enough. Do you know what your mom made as a pharmacist?
I know she made good money.
To you, that means what?
I believe it was over $80,000 a year.
And she left that job to do what for a living?
My father asked her to leave her job,
To do what?
to stay at home and to assist him, but I never saw her do so.
So she had, as far as you know, she had nothing to do with your dad's businesses. Is that what you're saying?
I never saw her do anything, no.
Okay. And in fairness, you never really saw your dad do anything. He just said to you, I'm working on contracts.
I saw him constantly on his computer and making phone calls.
But you don't know what he was doing.
He told me that they were federal and state contracts.
Okay. And he said, I'm federal and state contracts? What did he say to you?
I am working on contracts.
I am working on contracts. And how many times did he tell you that?
He did it every day.
How many times did he tell you he did that?
Anytime I asked.
How many times did you ask him?
Frequently.
Frequently. Okay. So you're intimately involved with your dad's conversations over his contracts. You don't know what he does for a living, but you know about him doing contracts. And your mom had nothing to do with that business as far as you know. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. You're in college now?
Yes.
Where do you go to school?
Concord University.
Okay. What year are you?
It's my 2nd year, but I'm considered a junior.
Okay. Well, your intelligence has been noted, so you're ahead of some of your incoming freshman class. What's your concentration? What's your major?
Accounting and finance.
Do you stress out over finals, or are you just so ahead of the game that that doesn't bother you at all?
I know how to study, so I just make sure I have enough time to do so.
Okay. You know some of your friends that don't take that approach and maybe get a little uneasy around finals time?
My friends are pretty similar to me, I would say.
So you wouldn't know anything about stress of finals or any of that stuff?
I understand stress, but I don't stress over finals usually.
Okay. You understand stress. Would it be fair to say that your dad was acting like a man who was under stress when you answered defense questions about how he was doing and feeling?
I would consider him agitated. Yes.
Agitated. Under stress?
I don't know the cause of the agitation.
Okay. Fair enough. You went to school on the date that your dad collapsed at the normal time?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. What would the normal time be?
We would normally get to school around 7:15.
And from your house on 4H Lake Road to the school, how many minutes on a normal day would that be?
Probably 25 with school traffic.
Yeah, that'd actually be pretty good. So you left your house at 10 to 7, something like that? Would that be about the normal time you would do that?
I'm not entirely sure.
Okay. And on the 6th of February, 2019, which is the date your dad collapsed, your mom took you to school, correct?
I'm not entirely sure.
Okay. Somehow you got there. You don't quite remember. That was a long time ago. But you don't remember when you got there, but you did get to school. Yes?
Yes,
And you returned on the bus, and it's about, you don't specifically remember that day, but it was about 2:45. Is that right?
likely yes.
Okay. When you got to your house, where was your dad physically at that time?
He was on the couch.
And your mom was there, and who else was there when you got home from school?
My mother and the Hamiltons,
Both Hamiltons.
John and Stephanie, yes.
Okay. And did they stay for the rest of the evening, or did they leave shortly after you got home?
I believe they were there for a little while, but I'm not entirely sure on the specifics.
Fair enough. Who's Penny Carrico?
She's my aunt.
Did you call her that day and say, hey, we need some help?
I don't really remember that.
Okay. At some point, Penny Carrico came to your house, correct?
Yes,
This is not designed in any way to embarrass you, but were you present when your dad lost control of his bladder? Or had that already happened by the time you got there?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Did you help change your dad's clothes or anything?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's fine. You indicated that about 4 o'clock they took your dad to the hospital. Is that what you remember?
That seems right, yes.
Okay. If there's some information that it was actually a couple hours later than that, would you dispute that?
I wasn't very concerned with the time during that time.
Sure. Did Chris Davis come over to your house before they took your dad to the hospital?
I remember him being there, but I don't remember what time.
Who took care of you and your brother when your folks went to the hospital that day?
I don't remember that day who took us specifically, but I remember while he was in the hospital, we stayed with both of my grandparents on different circumstances and my aunt, I believe.
Same one we were talking about, Ms. Carrico?
Yes.
Okay. Were you present at your house when somebody decided we've got to take your dad to the hospital?
Yes.
Okay. And at that point, do you remember who else was in your house besides your mom and dad, you? Were the Hamiltons still there?
I remember many people were there, but I don't remember if they were still there or not.
Okay. You indicated Mr. Treadway was there.
I believe so, yes.
Were you actually present when your dad was taken to a car and they went to the hospital, or had you already left by then?
I think I was present.
Okay. Let's go back briefly to your dad's business, or what you describe as your dad's business. You know what his end of the was, but as far as you know, your mom had nothing to do with it. Is that what you understand?
Yes.
Okay. And so if there were bunches of messages where your mom was telling people, here's what's going on with the business, here's when you're going to get paid, can you invest in this, can you invest, those types of you would know nothing about that. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Could I have just a moment, please, Your Honor?
Sure.
Who's that? What's your grandma or your mom's name?
Daphne.
What's her last name? I'm sorry.
Daphne Jessup.
Okay. Did she come over to your house that day while you were there?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you know if your mom communicated with her by phone or text or anything?
I'm not sure.
Okay. So if a message went from your mom to your grandma that said, Nick and I are enjoying a little girl couch time at about 4 o'clock that evening, you wouldn't know anything about that?
I'm not sure.
Do you remember enjoying some girl time with your mom at 4 o'clock on February the 6th, 2019?
We both sat with my father. Yes.
That's all the questions the state has. Thank you.
May confer with counsel.
Sure.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, redirect Mr. Victor.
In 2019, how old were you? Just give us some good math.
13, I believe.
On February the 6th, when your father was unconscious, I presume, or sleeping, or has already fell on the ground, were you concerned about who was in the house?
Not really.
Were you concerned about your father?
Yes.
Now, prosecutor asked you about asking your dad about the contracts or what he was doing. Would you agree with me that your father sometimes paid less attention to you than your brother?
Yes.
Would you say that you were perhaps that you were starved for his attention?
Yes.
And you wanted his attention by asking him first what the heck he was doing, right?
Yes.
But he never really took the bait and never really talked to you about anything else other than giving you the answer, I'm working on the contracts, right?
Yes.
That's all. Thank you.
Can I ask one more?
Sure, go ahead.
I should have asked you this before, and I'm sorry, but you indicated that your dad was his happiest when he was getting money. Wouldn't it be when he thought he was going to get some money?
Can you restate the question?
Sure. You indicated that your dad was at his happiest when he was getting some money. Is that what you remember saying?
Yes.
Okay. Was he also happy when he thought he was going to be getting some money?
Yes.
That's all, Your Honor. Thank you.
Anything further, Mr. Victor?
For a 13-year-old, did you understand the word investors?
Vaguely, I would say.
Did your father ever use that word, investors?
Yes.
What did he tell you about the investors, if you remember?
He would never say it to me directly, but he would just talk about paying the investors.
Paying the investor.
Yes.
Okay. And even though you're now a future accounting genius, did you understand what he meant by that?
I would say fairly well, yes.
Well, what did you understand by that? Then.
That there were individuals investing in the company and he needed to pay them back.
Okay. Did you ever see any documents that your father would show you? The company documents, the spreadsheets, anything that had to do with income and outlay of money.
I had seen him working on a spreadsheet, but I wasn't told what it was.
Okay. You don't remember the details, what was on those spreadsheets?
No, I wasn't allowed to really see a lot.
Why weren't you allowed to see?
We just didn't get along.
Your father wouldn't let you see what he was working on?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, that's all.
Anything further, Mr. Truman?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, may this witness be excused?
So far as the state's concerned.
Yes, Your Honor.
You may step down, Ms. Cochran. You are excused. Members of the jury, this is an opportune time for us to take our mid-morning break, and we will do so. Please do not discuss the case among yourselves or with anyone else. Please refrain from viewing, listening, or watching any accounts of this trial. And we'll break for about 10 or 15 minutes. You may go with the bailiff.